Stay with me as we uncover why Daniel Whitford chose her and what deadly secret he was hiding behind that charming smile. How refreshing. Vivian's gaze swept over Monica like she was cataloging flaws. I don't believe we've met. What do you do, dear? Hi, viewers. Kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. She was sitting alone at a billionaire's dinner party when the richest man in Texas leaned over and whispered, "Act like you're mine tonight." Monica had never felt more out of place until Daniel Whitford's arm wrapped around her chair like a shield against a room full of predators. But the woman in the blood-red dress who approached them wasn't just another guest. She was Daniel's ex-fiancée, and she knew exactly why Monica was really there. What would you do if a billionaire stranger asked you to pretend to be his lover in front of his enemies? Have you ever felt invisible in a room full of people who seem to belong there effortlessly? Tonight, Monica would discover that some games aren't played for fun. They're played for survival. Stay with me as we uncover why Daniel Whitford chose her and what deadly secret he was hiding behind that charming smile. Hit that like button if you've ever felt out of place, and let's dive into a story that will make you question everything you think you know about love and loyalty. Now, let me take you back to where Monica's night began and how she ended up in the most dangerous seat in Dallas. She was already planning her escape when the most powerful man in the room decided she was exactly where she needed to be. Monica Davis sat at the marble table like a fish out of water, watching Dallas elite laugh at jokes she didn't understand about people she'd never meet. Her black dress, the nicest thing in her closet, felt cheap under the crystal chandeliers that cost more than her yearly rent in Houston. The invitation had come through Jessica, a colleague who barely knew her name but needed an extra body to fill a seat. Just show up and smile, Jessica had said. Free food, good networking. What Jessica forgot to mention was that networking meant being ignored by oil executives who looked through her like she was furniture. Monica pushed her untouched salmon around her plate, counting minutes until she could leave without seeming rude. Growing up in Atlanta with a single mother who worked double shifts at a diner taught her to recognize when she didn't belong. This gilded cage of inherited wealth and old boy connections was as foreign as Mars. She was reaching for her purse when a shadow fell across her chair. Act like you're mine tonight. The voice was low, commanding, with an edge that made her spine straighten. Monica turned to find Daniel Whitford himself, the man whose face graced Forbes covers and business magazines, sliding into the empty chair beside her. Up close, he was younger than his photo suggested, maybe 35, with dark hair that looked like he'd been running his fingers through it and eyes the color of storm clouds. His navy suit probably cost more than Monica's car, but it was his hands that caught her attention, scarred knuckles that spoke of a past these people would never guess. "Excuse me," she whispered, heart hammering against her ribs. Daniel's arm settled across the back of her chair, his body angled toward her like they were intimate friends sharing secrets. "Play along," he murmured, his breath warm against her ear. "Please." The simple word, please, from a man who probably never had to ask for anything twice, made her decision. Monica leaned into his touch, letting her shoulder brush his chest. "How long have we been together?" she asked softly. Something flickered in his eyes. Relief, maybe. We're surprised that she'd agreed so quickly. "Long enough," he replied, his hand finding hers on the table. "Long enough for everyone here to wonder how I got so lucky." The compliment should have felt fake, part of their act. Instead, it sent heat crawling up her neck because Daniel Whitford looked at her like he meant every word. Around them, conversations died. Heads turned. The kind of people who thrived on gossip suddenly had front row seats to the most unexpected pairing of the year. Monica felt their stares like laser beams, dissecting everything from her discount dress to her natural hair to the way she held her fork. But Daniel's thumb traced circles on her knuckles, grounding her in the moment. "Why me?" she managed to ask through her smile. His grip tightened slightly. "Because you don't owe anyone in this room anything. You see through their masks because you've never worn one." Before Monica could process what that meant, a woman in a blood-red dress approached their table. She moved like liquid fire, all curves and confidence, with ice blue eyes that could freeze hell. The entire room held its breath. Have you ever had a stranger completely change your night with just one sentence? Tell me in the comments what you would have done in Monica's shoes. Before she could process what was happening, his hand found the small of her back, and every conversation in the room seemed to pause. That's when Monica realized this wasn't just about pretending. Everyone was watching because they knew something she didn't. The woman in blood red approached with a smile sharp enough to cut glass, and Monica was about to learn why billionaires never play fair. Daniel, the woman's voice dripped honey laced with poison. You didn't tell us you were bringing someone. Her pause before someone lasted just long enough to sting. Monica felt the insult land like a slap, but Daniel's hand pressed firmer against her back, a silent message to stay strong. Vivian, Daniel's tone could have frozen the champagne in their glasses. Meet Monica, the woman who reminds me what class actually looks like. Vivian's perfect smile never wavered, but her knuckles went white around her wine glass. She was beautiful in that expensive way. Sharp cheekbones, platinum blonde hair styled to perfection, diamonds that caught the light with every breath. The kind of woman who'd never shopped at Target or worried about rent. How refreshing. Vivian's gaze swept over Monica like she was cataloging flaws. I don't believe we've met. What do you do, dear? The question felt like a trap. Monica could practically hear the follow-up judgments. Event planning? How quaint. Houston? Not even Dallas proper. But something in Daniel's posture, the way he'd gone completely still beside her, made Monica realize this wasn't really about her at all. She was a chess piece in a game that started long before tonight. I help people create memorable experiences, Monica replied, lifting her chin. What about you? Vivian's laugh sounded like breaking crystal. Oh, I don't work. I volunteer, of course. Charity galas, hospital wings, the usual social responsibilities. Her eyes glittered with malice. Though I suppose we all contribute in our own ways. The insult hit its mark. Monica's cheeks burned with the implication that she was somehow less worthy because she actually worked for a living. Around them, other guests leaned closer, sensing blood in the water. Daniel's voice cut through the tension like a blade. Vivian always had a talent for making herself the center of attention, even when she wasn't invited to be. The room went dead silent. Vivian's mask slipped for just a second, revealing something ugly underneath all that polish. Still protecting your pets, I see. How noble. That's when Monica understood. This wasn't about jealousy or wounded pride. This was war, and Vivian was using every weapon she could find, including racism disguised as social propriety. Monica stood up slowly, Daniel rising beside her like they'd rehearsed the movement. It was lovely meeting you, Vivian. I could see why Daniel speaks of you so fondly. The lie tasted bitter, but the way Vivian's face tightened made it worth every syllable. This isn't over, Vivian whispered, her composure cracking just enough to show the rage underneath. Daniel's arm slid around Monica's waist, pulling her close enough that she could feel his heartbeat through his shirt. No, he agreed quietly. It's not. As they walked away, Monica heard the whispers starting, fragments of gossip and speculation that would fuel Dallas social media for weeks. But she was focused on the man beside her, the way his jaw clenched with barely controlled anger. I'm sorry, he said once they were out of Vivian's earshot. She's going to make this difficult for you now. Monica turned to study his profile, the way shadows played across his face in the dim lighting. Make what difficult? I still don't understand what just happened back there. Daniel stopped walking, his grip on her waist tightening. When he looked at her, his eyes held a storm of emotions she couldn't read. Have you ever been in a situation where someone tried to make you feel small because of who you are? How did you handle it? Share your strength stories below. She's going to make this difficult for you now. Monica turned to ask what he meant, but the look in his eyes told her she'd just become a target in a game she didn't understand. She thought the worst part was over, until Daniel pulled her onto the dance floor and whispered the one thing that changed everything. I need your help. The ballroom spun around them in blurs of gold and crystal as they swayed to music that felt like a soundtrack to conspiracy. Other couples danced, but none moved with the intensity of two people sharing dangerous secrets. Daniel's hand spread across her bare back, fingers tracing the edge of her dress as he pulled her close enough that his words wouldn't carry beyond her ears. "Vivian isn't just my ex-fiancée," he murmured, his lips brushing her temple. "She's the daughter of Marcus Hartwell, my business partner, and together, they're trying to frame me for murder." Monica's steps faltered, but Daniel's grip steadied her, keeping them moving to the slow rhythm while her world shifted beneath her feet. "What?" she breathed, searching his face for signs he was joking. But his storm-gray eyes held nothing but deadly seriousness. 2 years ago, my original partner, James Mitchell, died in what looked like a climbing accident. James had discovered someone was embezzling from our oil ventures. The night before he died, he called me, said he had proof that would destroy whoever was stealing from us. Daniel's thumb traced along her spine, but the touch that should have been comforting felt electric with tension instead. James never got to share that proof. And now Marcus has been slowly building a case that I killed James to cover up my own crimes. The music swelled around them, but Monica could barely hear it over the rush of blood in her ears. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I've been looking for someone Marcus doesn't own. Someone who hasn't been bought or threatened or compromised." His hand found hers, squeezing gently. "I chose you because you don't owe anyone in this room anything. You see through their masks because you've never worn one." Monica's mind raced, trying to process the magnitude of what he was asking. "You wanted to help you prove you didn't kill someone. I want you to help me prove who did." They turned with the music, and Monica caught sight of Vivian watching them from across the room, her red dress making her look like a drop of blood against the elegant backdrop. The hatred in her eyes was unmistakable now. This was personal in ways Monica was only beginning to understand. "What makes you think they won't come after me too?" Monica asked. Daniel's jaw tightened. "They will. The moment they realize you matter to me, they'll use you to get to me. That's why I'm giving you a choice before this goes any further." The song was ending, but neither of them moved to separate. Instead, Daniel's free hand came up to cup her cheek, thumb brushing across her skin with surprising tenderness. "Walk away now, and you'll be safe. Stay." He paused, his gaze dropping to her lips before meeting her eyes again. "Stay, and I'll do everything in my power to protect you. But I can't promise they won't try to hurt you to hurt me." Monica's heart hammered against her ribs, but not just from fear. The way Daniel looked at her, like she was brave and strong and worth trusting with his life, made her feel powerful in a way she'd never experienced. "What kind of proof do you have?" she asked. Relief flooded his features. James hid evidence before he died. Financial records, recorded conversations, things that would destroy Marcus if they ever saw daylight. "When was the last time someone trusted you with their deepest secret? What made them choose you?" Share your trust stories in the comments. The music ended, but they didn't separate. Instead, Daniel's hand found hers, and she felt the weight of a small object pressed into her palm. "Keep this safe," he murmured. "If something happens to me tonight, you're the only one who can expose the truth." 3 a.m. in a billionaire's penthouse wasn't where Monica planned to be, but sometimes the most important conversations happen when the world is asleep. Dallas stretched out below them through floor-to-ceiling windows, the city lights creating a constellation of ambition and secrets. Inside his penthouse, the silence felt sacred after hours of performing for dangerous audiences. Monica sat curled on Daniel's leather couch, studying the USB drive he'd pressed into her palm. Such a small thing to hold someone's life in the balance. James was paranoid the last few weeks before he died, Daniel said, pouring wine into 2 glasses with hands that shook almost imperceptibly. He started recording phone calls, copying financial documents, even hired a private investigator to follow Marcus. He handed her a glass, their fingers brushing in the exchange. The contact sent warmth shooting up her arm, despite the gravity of their conversation. "What did he find?" Monica asked, accepting the wine, but keeping her focus on Daniel's face. Away from the party lights and crowd, he looked younger, vulnerable in a way that made her chest tight. "Marcus wasn't just stealing from our company. He was running a side business, selling drilling rights to land that wasn't his to sell. When property owners tried to fight back, Daniel's jaw clenched. They had accidents, house fires, car crashes, things that made people stop asking questions. Monica set down her wine, her appetite for alcohol gone. And James was going to expose all of this. James was going to destroy Marcus. So Marcus destroyed him first. The weight of that statement hung between them like a physical presence. Monica found herself studying Daniel's profile as he stared out at the city. The strong line of his jaw, the way shadows played across his features, the vulnerability he probably showed to no one else. "Why haven't you gone to the police?" she asked softly. Daniel's laugh held no humor. "With what proof?" Marcus made sure James's evidence disappeared with him. And now Marcus has been building a case against me for 2 years. Forged documents, bribed witnesses, the works. If I go to the cops without ironclad evidence, I'll be the one in handcuffs. He turned to face her fully, and Monica's breath caught at the intensity in his eyes. "That's why I need someone on the outside. Someone they haven't had time to compromise. What exactly are you asking me to do?" "Help me find what James hid." He was too smart to keep everything in one place, and too careful to trust it all to digital storage. There are physical documents somewhere, bank records, photographs, maybe even recordings. Things that would put Marcus away for life. Monica pulled her legs up under her, suddenly aware of how alone they were, how intimate this moment felt despite the dangerous topic. "And you think I can find them?" "I think you're smarter than anyone in that room tonight gave you credit for. I watched you analyze people, read situations, see through the performance they were all putting on." Daniel moved closer on the couch, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive but not overwhelming. "You have instincts they don't, perspective they lack." His hand covered hers where it rested on her knee, and Monica felt that electric connection again, stronger now in the quiet intimacy of his home. "There's something else," she said, surprising herself with her boldness. "You could have asked anyone to help you. Why did it have to be me?" Daniel's thumb traced across her knuckles, and when he looked up at her, his expression was raw with honesty. "Because the moment I saw you sitting alone at that table, looking like you were planning your escape from all those fake smiles and empty conversations, I knew you were real. And I haven't met anyone real in so long. I've forgotten what it felt like. Have you ever had to choose between safety and doing what's right? Between walking away and standing up for someone? Tell me about your moment of truth." As dawn broke over Dallas, Monica made a choice that would change both their lives. "I'm not walking away from this. Or from you." But neither of them saw the black sedan that had been parked across the street all night, or the telephoto lens capturing their every move through the penthouse windows. Waking up in a billionaire's bed should have felt like a fairy tale, until Monica saw her face on the front page of the Dallas Morning News. Sunlight streamed through Daniel's massive windows, painting everything in gold. Monica stretched against Egyptian cotton sheets that cost more than her monthly salary, wearing one of Daniel's dress shirts that fell to her mid-thigh. For about 30 seconds, she let herself enjoy the luxury of it all. Then Daniel walked back into the bedroom, carrying coffee and a newspaper, his face dark as a thunderstorm. "We have a problem," he said, tossing the paper onto the bed beside her. The headline screamed, "Oil Baron's New Obsession," in letters that felt like accusations. The photo showed them through the penthouse window, her head on his shoulder, both of them looking intimate and unguarded. Whoever took it had perfect timing and a very expensive camera. Monica's stomach dropped as she read the article aloud. Billionaire Daniel Whitford was spotted with an unidentified black woman at an exclusive Dallas gathering, later retreating to his downtown penthouse for what sources describe as an intense overnight encounter. The mystery woman appears to be from outside Whitford's usual social circle, raising questions about the nature of their relationship. "Outside his usual social circle," Monica repeated, her voice flat. "They couldn't just say, 'I'm not rich enough.' They had to make sure everyone knew exactly what kind of woman I am." Daniel sat on the edge of the bed, his jaw tight with fury. "They want to reduce you to a stereotype. But I see exactly who you are, and I'm not letting them tear that down." Monica's phone buzzed with notifications. Text messages, missed calls, social media mentions exploding like fireworks. Her quiet life in Houston was officially over. "My boss is calling," she said, staring at the screen. "My mother's calling. People I went to college with are tagging me on Instagram." She looked up at Daniel, vulnerability written across her face. "I'm not ready for this kind of attention." Daniel moved closer, his hand finding hers among the tangled sheets. "I'll fix this. I have people who can control the narrative, make this go away." "How?" Monica asked. "By pretending it never happened? By making me disappear from your life?" The question hung between them, loaded with implications neither was ready to face. Because somewhere between the conspiracy theories and dangerous allies, they'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Daniel's thumb traced across her knuckles, the same gesture that grounded her at the party. "By telling the truth, that you're the most remarkable woman I've ever met, and anyone who has a problem with that can answer to me." Before Monica could respond, her phone rang. Unknown number. "Don't answer it," Daniel warned, but she was already swiping to accept. "Monica Davis?" The voice was electronically distorted, clearly disguised. "Who is this?" "Someone who knows what you got yourself in the last night. Drop the billionaire or drop dead. You have 48 hours. The line went dead. Monica stared at the phone, her hands shaking. Daniel was already moving, grabbing his own phone to make calls, security, lawyers, people who dealt with threats for a living. "Pack a bag," he ordered, his voice sharp with command. "You're not staying at your apartment until we figure out who's behind this." "I can't just disappear from my life," Monica protested, even as fear crawled up her throat. "I have work, responsibilities." "You have a death threat," Daniel cut her off. "Everything else is secondary." Monica looked at the newspaper photo again. Two people who looked happy and safe, completely unaware that their brief moment of peace was about to shatter into 1,000 dangerous pieces. Have you ever been judged or attacked for someone you chose to love? How did you protect each other? Share your story of standing strong together. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Drop the billionaire or drop dead. You have 48 hours. Before she could show Daniel, his phone rang, his lawyer with news that would make the death threat seem like the least of their problems. She thought she understood power, until she watched Daniel Whitford dismantle his enemies with the precision of a surgeon and the ruthlessness of a warrior. The boardroom at Whitford Industries felt like a battlefield. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked downtown Dallas, but nobody was admiring the view. Daniel sat at the head of a mahogany table that could seat 20, with Monica positioned at his right side like she belonged there, which, according to his lawyer's phone call, she absolutely did not. The restraining order was filed this morning, Daniel's attorney had explained. Vivian claims MS. Davis is a dangerous obsession who's manipulating you for financial gain. She's asking the court to prohibit any contact between you. Now, facing his senior staff and legal team, Daniel looked every inch the billionaire who'd built an empire from nothing. Gone was the vulnerable man who'd shared wine and secrets in his penthouse. This was the version of Daniel Whitford that made grown men sweat during negotiations. "Marcus thinks he can use the legal system to separate us," Daniel said, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed. "He's wrong." Monica watched him lay out financial documents like weapons, each page proof of Marcus's embezzlement scheme. Bank records showing money flowing to shell companies. Correspondence with property owners who'd received threatening letters. A timeline that connected Marcus to every suspicious accident over the past 3 years. "Where did you get all this?" Monica asked, genuinely impressed despite their circumstances. Daniel's smile held no warmth. "James wasn't the only one who suspected Marcus. I've been building my own case for months. I just needed someone I could trust to help me connect the final pieces." That's when Monica understood why he'd really chosen her. Not just because she was an outsider, but because he'd been planning this confrontation all along. The dinner party, Vivian's hostility, even the media attention. Daniel had orchestrated it all to flush Marcus into the open. "You used me," she said quietly. The room went silent. Daniel's legal team suddenly found their documents fascinating, giving them the illusion of privacy in the crowded space. "I chose you," Daniel corrected, his voice dropping to that intimate tone she was learning to recognize. Everything else was just strategy. Monica felt the weight of every gaze in the room, the way his staff was cataloging every word, every gesture between them. But she also saw something in Daniel's eyes that made her pulse quicken. Pride. He was proud to have her beside him, proud of her quick mind and steady nerves under pressure. "What's the next move?" she asked, making her choice to trust him again. Daniel's hand found hers across the polished table, his fingers intertwining with hers in full view of everyone present. The gesture was possessive and protective and completely unapologetic. "We give Marcus exactly what he wants," Daniel said. "A public confrontation where he thinks he holds all the cards." Later, after the lawyers had left and the building had emptied, Monica found herself pressed against Daniel's office windows, the city lights twinkling below as his mouth claimed hers with desperate hunger. "You don't need my protection," he breathed against her neck, his hands tangling in her hair. "You need a partner who can match your fire." Monica pulled back to look at him, seeing the man beneath the billionaire facade. "Then stop trying to shield me and start letting me fight beside you." Daniel's eyes darkened with something that wasn't entirely about the conspiracy they were facing. "Dangerous words, Ms. Davis. Good thing I like danger, Mr. Whitford. What's the difference between being protected and being partnered with? Well, have you felt truly seen for your strength? Share your experiences below." As they lay tangled on his office couch, both their phones lit up simultaneously. The same message. "Cute show today. Let's see how you perform at your mother's house." "We're already there." Monica's blood turned to ice. They've found her family. Nothing prepares you for the moment you realize loving someone puts everyone you've ever cared about in danger. The drive to Atlanta felt endless, even in Daniel's private jet. Monica sat rigid in the leather seat, her phone pressed to her ear as she tried calling her mother for the 100th time. Each ring that went unanswered made her chest tighter. "She's probably just at the grocery store," Monica said for the third time, but her voice cracked on the words. "Mom always shops on Wednesday afternoons." Daniel reached across the narrow aisle to take her free hand. "My security team is already there. If anything was wrong, they would have called." But when they pulled up to the modest Atlanta neighborhood where Monica grew up, 3 black SUVs lined the street like a funeral procession. Her mother's house, a small brick structure with flower boxes under the windows, looked the same as always, except for the man in a dark suit standing on the front porch. Monica was out of the car before Daniel could stop her, running across the yard she'd played in as a child. "Where is she?" Monica demanded, taking the porch steps 2 at a time. "Ms. Davis." The security agent looked relieved to see her. "Your mother is safe. She's inside with Agent Martinez. But we found evidence that someone has been watching the house for days." Inside, Monica's mother sat at the kitchen table that had hosted 1,000 family dinners, calmly serving coffee to a woman in an FBI jacket. Diane Davis looked exactly like an older version of her daughter. Same warm brown skin, same intelligent eyes, same stubborn chin. "Baby girl," her mother said, standing to envelope Monica in the kind of hug that could fix anything. "What kind of trouble did you get yourself into?" That's when Monica broke down. The stress and fear of the past 24 hours pouring out in tears she'd been too strong to shed until now. Her mother held her tight, the way she had when Monica was 8 and scared of thunderstorms. "It's my fault." Monica sobbed into her mother's shoulder. "I should never have stayed at that party. I should never have gotten involved." "Hey." Daniel's voice was gentle as he approached them, his presence filling the small kitchen. "This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault." Diane Davis looked over her daughter's head at the billionaire who'd brought danger to their door. Monica felt her mother's body tense, ready to protect her child from any threat, including the man who claimed to love her. "You must be Daniel," Diane said, her voice carrying the weight of judgment only mothers could deliver. "Yes, ma'am." Daniel extended his hand, but didn't move closer. "I'm sorry for the circumstances." Monica pulled back to wipe her eyes, watching the 2 most important people in her life size each other up. Her mother took in Daniel's expensive clothes, his confident posture, the way he positioned himself protectively near Monica. "My daughter's been fighting for everything her whole life," Diane said finally. "Don't you dare make her fight for your love too." The words hit harder than any threat Vivian had made. Monica saw Daniel flinch, saw him understand exactly what her mother was really saying. "Don't you dare treat her like she's not good enough for you." "No, ma'am," Daniel replied, his voice rough with emotion. "If anything, I'm the one who's not good enough for her. When has love made you stronger, but also more vulnerable? How do you protect the people you care about when you're under attack? Share your family protection stories." As they left Atlanta with Monica's mother safely relocated, Daniel's security team delivered devastating news. Vivian hadn't just found Monica's family. She'd found Daniel's secret daughter from a previous relationship, the child he'd been hiding to protect her. Now both their families were pawns in Vivian's deadly game. The billionaire who seemed to have everything had been hiding the one thing that mattered most. And now Monica understood why he'd chosen her to help him fight. The safe house looked like a luxury cabin from the outside, but the reinforced walls and security cameras told a different story. Inside, Monica sat on a leather couch watching Daniel pace the living room like a caged animal. His phone pressed to his ear as he coordinated with private security firms across 3 states. "Emma's school thinks she's visiting her grandmother," he said, ending another call. "But Vivian knows about the custody arrangement. She knows exactly where to find her." Monica had been processing the revelation for 2 hours, and she still couldn't quite believe it. Daniel Whitford, the man every gossip column called a confirmed bachelor, had a 7-year-old daughter he'd kept secret from the world. "Tell me about her," Monica said softly. Daniel stopped pacing, his shoulders sagging with exhaustion and worry. "Her name is Emma. She's brilliant, funny, stubborn as hell. She wants to be a scientist when she grows up because she says the world needs more people who ask questions." He pulled out his phone, showing Monica a photo of a little girl with Daniel's gray eyes and a smile that could light up rooms. Emma was building something with blocks, her tongue poking out in concentration. "Her mother died when she was 3, Daniel continued, his voice thick with old grief. "Car accident. Since then, it's just been Emma and me. I've kept her out of the public because I know what this world does to children. The pressure, the expectations, the way people try to use them as weapons." Monica's heart broke for this man who'd been carrying such heavy secrets alone. "Why didn't you tell me before?" "Because the moment I told you about Emma, you became a target too. Not just for what you know about Marcus, but for what you mean to me." Daniel sat beside her on the couch, his hands shaking slightly as he ran them through his hair. "I've been selfish, keeping you close when I should have sent you away the moment that first threat came in." "Stop." Monica turned to face him fully, taking his hands in hers. "Stop blaming yourself for other people's evil. You didn't make Vivian into a monster. You didn't turn Marcus into a killer. You just fell in love with someone who was brave enough to love you back." Daniel's eyes widened slightly at her use of the word love, but neither of them had time to examine that revelation before his phone rang again. "She's here," he said after hanging up. "Security is bringing Emma in now." Monica's stomach fluttered with nerves. Meeting the secret daughter of the man you loved under normal circumstances would be terrifying enough. Doing it while hiding from murderous ex-fiancés felt impossible. The front door opened, and Emma Whitford burst into the room like a tiny hurricane. She had Daniel's eyes, but her own fierce energy, bouncing on her toes as she looked around the unfamiliar space. "Daddy!" She launched herself at Daniel, who caught her in a hug that made Monica's chest tight with emotion. "Hey, princess," Daniel murmured into Emma's dark hair. "I missed you." Emma pulled back to study her father's face with the intensity only children could manage. "Uncle Mike said we had to come here because some bad people want to hurt you. Is that true?" Daniel glanced at Monica over Emma's head, and she saw him make the decision to trust her with the most precious part of his world. "Emma," he said gently, "I want you to meet Monica. She's helping Daddy keep everyone safe. When have you had to choose between your safety and protecting someone else's child? What does it mean to love someone enough to shield their most precious treasure? Share your stories of protective love." The morning brought terrible news. Vivian had filed legal papers claiming Emma was being endangered by Daniel's criminal associates, meaning Monica. Child services was coming, and they had 6 hours to prove their innocence or lose Emma forever. Sometimes the most vicious battles are fought in courtrooms, where love isn't enough and money talks louder than truth. The family court judge looked like she'd seen every sob story in the book and believed none of them. Judge Patricia Coleman had silver hair pulled back in a bun so tight it could stop bullets, and eyes that missed nothing behind wire-rimmed glasses. Monica sat in the gallery watching Daniel fight for his daughter while knowing her very presence made everything worse. Every time the opposing lawyer mentioned her name, she saw how the judge's expression hardened. "Your Honor," Vivian's attorney was saying, "Mr. Whitford has exposed this innocent child to dangerous criminal elements. His girlfriend, if we can call her that, is currently under investigation for conspiracy and fraud." The lies came so smoothly Monica almost believed them herself. According to Vivian's version, Monica was a gold-digging con artist who'd seduced Daniel into illegal business deals. The fabricated evidence was impressive: forged bank records, fake witness statements, even doctored photos. Emma sat beside Daniel's lawyer, swinging her legs from the chair that was too big for her. She kept turning around to look at Monica with those serious gray eyes, and Monica had to fight the urge to wave. Any sign of connection between them would just give Vivian more ammunition. Furthermore, the opposing lawyer continued, "Mr. Whitford's recent behavior shows a pattern of reckless decision-making. Taking up with a stranger, involving her in his business affairs, keeping her overnight while his daughter was in the building." "Objection," Daniel's lawyer interrupted. "Speculation and moral judgment have no place in a custody hearing." Judge Coleman held up one hand. "I'll allow it. Continue, counselor." 6 months ago, Marcus replied without hesitation. "Before you convinced Daniel to help you kill James." "Play it again," Monica requested. Detective Chin rewound the recording. Monica's voice filled the small room, clear as day. "James Mitchell needs to disappear permanently. His investigation is getting too close to the truth about our operation." "Interesting," Monica said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Because 6 months ago, I didn't know anyone named James Mitchell. In fact, I'd never heard that name until 3 days ago when Daniel told me about his dead business partner." Marcus's smile never wavered. "You're grasping at straws, Ms. Davis. The evidence speaks for itself." "It does," Monica agreed. "But here's what the evidence is really saying, Detective Chun. 6 months ago, I was living in Houston, working at a job that paid barely enough to cover my rent. I had no connections to the Dallas oil business, no knowledge of Daniel Whitford's personal life, and certainly no way to plan an elaborate murder scheme." She stood up, pacing the small room like Daniel did when he was thinking. "But someone with money and connections could easily fake all this evidence. Someone who had access to James Mitchell's personal information, who knew Daniel's schedule, who understood the business well enough to make the financial records look convincing." Detective Chun was following Monica's logic now, her eyes moving from the evidence to Marcus's face. "Go on." "The recording is the smoking gun," Monica continued. "Listen to the background noise. That's not a phone conversation. It's a studio recording. Professional quality, no ambient sound, no electronic interference. Someone took the time to record me saying those words, but they made a crucial error." Marcus was no longer smiling. "They recorded it recently, didn't they? That's why my voice sounds exactly the same as it does right now. But 6 months ago, I had a cold that lasted 3 weeks in February. My voice was completely different then, hoarse, deeper. Anyone who actually talked to me during that period would remember." Detective Chun rewound the tape again, listening more carefully this time. "The audio quality is too clean for a 6-month-old phone recording." Monica turned to face Marcus directly. "You killed James Mitchell because he discovered your embezzlement scheme. Then you spent 2 years setting up Daniel to take the fall. But when that wasn't working fast enough, you decided to use me as the perfect scapegoat, a poor black woman that nobody would believe over a respected businessman. Have you ever caught someone in a lie by paying attention to the details they overlooked? When has your knowledge of yourself become the key to proving your innocence? Marcus's mask was finally slipping, revealing the cold-blooded killer underneath. You have no idea what you're dealing with, he snarled, reaching into his briefcase. But instead of pulling out more evidence, his hand emerged for the gun. Some stories don't get happy endings. Detective Chun was already moving, but Monica realized with crystal clarity that she was about to watch everyone she loved die, unless she did something right now. The moment between life and death lasts forever and happens in a blink, and Monica was about to discover that sometimes ordinary people can do extraordinary things when everything depends on it. Marcus's gun swung toward Detective Chun first, but Monica was already moving. 2 years of weekend self-defense classes that she'd taken after moving to Houston alone were about to be put to the ultimate test. She grabbed Marcus's wrist with both hands, using his own momentum to twist his arm upward. The gun fired into the ceiling, raining plaster dust down on all of them as Detective Chun dove for cover behind the table. "You stupid girl," Marcus snarled, trying to wrench free from Monica's grip. "You have no idea what you've cost me." But Monica wasn't the same woman who'd sat alone at that dinner party 4 days ago. That woman had been invisible, overlooked, easy to intimidate. This woman had been threatened, shot at, and framed for murder. This woman had something worth fighting for. "I know exactly what I've cost you," Monica said through gritted teeth, forcing Marcus's gun hand toward the wall. "Your freedom, your money, and your plan to destroy an innocent man." Detective Chun was shouting into her radio, calling for backup, but help was still minutes away. The gun was still in play, and Marcus was stronger than Monica had expected. The door burst open, and Daniel appeared in the doorway like an answer to prayer. His left arm was in a sling from the shooting at the safe house, but his right hand held his own weapon steady as a rock. "Let her go, Marcus," Daniel said, his voice deadly quiet. "This ends now." Marcus used Monica as a human shield, his gun pressed against her temple hard enough to leave bruises. "You always were too soft, Daniel. Too willing to trust people who don't deserve it." "You're right," Daniel agreed, never taking his eyes off Marcus. "I trusted you for 15 years. I let you into my home, around my daughter, into every aspect of my business. That was my mistake. Your mistake was thinking you could replace me." Marcus spat. "With her, with James, with anyone who might threaten my position in this company." Monica could feel Marcus's heart beating against her back, could smell his expensive cologne mixed with the sour scent of desperation. This close, she could also feel something else, the slight tremor in his hands that said he wasn't as in control as he wanted everyone to believe. "James figured out, didn't he?" Monica said, her voice steady despite the gun pressed to her head. "He discovered you weren't just stealing money. You were selling information to competitors, sabotaging Daniel's deals, destroying the company from the inside. James was a sanctimonious fool who couldn't mind his own business," Marcus replied. "Just like you." That's when Monica made her move. She remembered her instructor's words. When someone holds a gun to your head, they think they have all the power. Use that overconfidence against them. Monica threw her head back as hard as she could, connecting with Marcus's nose in a crunch of cartilage and blood. He stumbled backward, cursing, his grip on both the gun and Monica loosening just enough. She broke free and dove toward Detective Chun as Daniel moved forward. 2 gunshots echoed in the small room, but only one man was left standing when the smoke cleared. Marcus Hartwell lay on the floor of the interrogation room, his hand pressed against his shoulder, his gun sliding across the linoleum toward Detective Chen's feet. "It's over," Daniel said, lowering his weapon. "Finally over." But Monica knew it wasn't really over until Emma was safe, until their names were cleared, until they could build the life that had started with a whispered request at a dinner party that felt like a lifetime ago. When have you had to fight for something that mattered more than your own safety? How do you find courage when everything you love is on the line? As paramedics treated Marcus and police filled out reports, Daniel pulled Monica into his arms with his good hand. "You saved my life," he whispered into her hair. But Monica knew the truth. They had saved each other, and now they had to figure out how to build a future from the ashes of everything they'd survived. 6 months later, Monica stood in the same Dallas ballroom where everything began, but this time she wasn't planning her escape. She was planning her future. The charity gala was Daniel's idea, a fundraiser for families affected by corporate crime. Half the city's elite had turned out, including several former associates of Marcus Hartwell, who were suddenly very interested in proving they'd never been involved in his schemes. Monica wore a midnight blue dress that actually fit this time, her natural hair styled in an elegant updo that had taken the hotel salon 2 hours to perfect. She looked like she belonged here now, but more importantly, she felt like she belonged here. "You clean up nice, Ms. Davis," Daniel murmured in her ear as they stood greeting guests at the entrance. "You're not so bad yourself, Mr. Whitford," she replied, straightening his tie with the casual intimacy of a woman who'd earned the right to touch him anywhere, anytime. The past 6 months had been a whirlwind of legal proceedings, media interviews, and slowly rebuilding their lives from the ground up. Marcus was serving 25 to life for James Mitchell's murder, plus additional charges for embezzlement, conspiracy, and attempted murder. Vivian had fled to Switzerland, where extradition laws were more forgiving of financial crimes. But the best part of their new life was currently holding court near the dessert table. Emma Whitford had grown 3 inches and gained enough confidence to charm every adult in the room. She wore a purple dress that she'd picked out herself, and her hair was done in elaborate braids courtesy of Monica's mother, who'd moved to Dallas to be closer to her new granddaughter. "She's going to be trouble when she's older," Diane Davis observed, watching Emma explain her latest science project to a group of fascinated oil executives. "She already is trouble," Daniel replied fondly. "Yesterday she asked me why we can't just adopt Monica officially, so she can have 2 moms like her friend at school." Monica's heart did that fluttery thing it always did when Daniel talked about their unconventional family. They were still figuring out what they were to each other, officially, legally, emotionally. But they were figuring it out together, and that felt like enough. The evening wound down around midnight, with Emma asleep in Daniel's arms and Monica carrying her shoes because her feet couldn't handle designer heels for 8 straight hours. They rode the elevator up to Daniel's penthouse in comfortable silence, the kind that came from knowing each other's thoughts. "I have something for you," Daniel said once they'd tucked him into bed. He led Monica onto the balcony where they'd shared wine and dangerous secrets what felt like a lifetime ago. The Dallas skyline spread out below them, but Monica only had eyes for the small velvet box in Daniel's hands. "Monica Davis," he said, dropping to one knee on the same balcony where she'd first agreed to help him fight for his life. "You saved me in every way a person can be saved. You loved my daughter before you loved me. You fought my battles like they were your own, and you never once made me feel like I had to choose between protecting you and protecting my family." Monica's hands were shaking as she reached for the box, her heart pounding so hard she was sure the neighbors could hear it. "Will you marry me?" Daniel asked. "Will you let me spend the rest of my life trying to deserve the love you've given us?" Monica looked at the ring, a simple, elegant solitaire that caught the city lights like a promise, and then at the man who'd change her life with 5 words at a dinner party. Her answer was yes before he'd finished asking the question. What does it mean to choose love after surviving danger together? How do you build a happy ending from the ashes of everything that tried to destroy you? Share your stories of love that conquered fear. As they kissed under the Dallas stars, neither of them noticed Emma watching from her bedroom window, already planning how she was going to help plan the wedding that would make their family official. Some fairy tales start with glass slippers or magic spells, but the best ones start with ordinary people choosing to be extraordinary for each other.